Do you ever see a successful woman on your feed or in a magazine and think, wow, it must be nice to have it so easy? Well, think again. Behind that glossy cover or smiling face is a ton of hard work, countless failures, and endless learning experiences. I'm Rebecca Minkoff, and I'm here to tell you that success isn't a walk in the park. It takes grit, resilience, and a willingness to take risks. That's why I created Superwoman, a podcast that peels back the varnish and gets into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to make it as a woman in today's world. From luminaries and game changers to women you've never heard of but should, this podcast is here to inspire you to take your next leap, no matter how daunting it may seem. We'll explore the sacrifices these women have made, the highs and lows they've experienced, and the lessons they've learned along the way. So if you're ready to be inspired and learn from some of the most successful women out there, join me on Superwomen. Together, we'll uncover the stories behind the successes and prove that with hard work, determination, and a little bit of luck, anything is possible. Hey everyone, you're listening to Superwomen. Today's guest is Kristyn Rose. I had the pleasure of meeting Kristyn at a Female Founder Collective event when she came to me, told me her brilliant idea for a portable pet crate, but was also working a full-time job and wanted to start a family. And I told her, sis, pick two. You can't do all three and survive. I heard from her a couple months later. She is full-time on Crateaway and she's pregnant, which I'm so excited that she is launching not one, but two babies. We talk about what inspired her to launch this company, how she's changing and innovating in a very competitive market, and how she's going to approach doing many things at once. Take a listen. Welcome to the podcast, Kristyn. I'm so excited to chat about Crateaway.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm so glad to be here.
So we met in LA at one of our Female Founder Collective events, and you shared with me your story. And what I love is that you shared with me that you wanted to have a baby, but you had a job and you had this incredible startup. And I was like, girlfriend, get pregnant and quit that job, right? And
yes.
Lo and behold, I ran into you a couple of weeks ago and you're like, I'm pregnant and I quit my job and I'm going full force. And I was like, yes.
Well, it didn't happen in that order, which was a little bit shocking, but quit the job. And then 2 days later found out I was pregnant and I was like, Then I had your voice in my head and I was like, all right, it's Rebecca's plan.
It's all her fault if it goes wrong.
Yeah.
So tell everyone listening, what is Crateaway? This is for pet lovers everywhere. So just if you're wondering, this is a pet friendly episode.
Yes. So Pet Crate is reinventing the pet crate. We are not happy with what's on the market. So we wanted to make something that is lightweight, beautiful, cost effective, and you can take everywhere with you on every adventure that you want to bring your furry best friend.
So what inspired you to do this? Because being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. And I'm curious what made you love the pet space and then decide to go out on your own.
Yeah. So it's a big leap from what I professionally did. My background is in international business and law. And I used to work at Wharton, Penn Law, and American Express. And just really out of a pet parent struggle. We were traveling a lot with our English Bulldog Bo, and it was so frustrating having to bring a heavy wire crate with you everywhere you went. And so I looked at the market. I was like, there's a huge gap here. And then enlisted some advisors from Wharton and really got the business started and just bootstrapped it, sold my car, and used that as the seed money for the engineering and just got it all started.
So most people in your position would have a fancy deck, they'd go raise a fund, especially the Wharton crew. What made you decide to sell your car and kind of invest the money yourself?
Well, I feel like at that beginning stages, it's really all about how you position yourself. And I wanted to be the sole owner of my company at the beginning. I was very adamant that I wanted to do it my way in the beginning. And when you bring in venture partners and other, private equity partners, they get a say in your business and how you're going to scale for growth. And we really weren't in the position of, okay, let's do that right away. We really wanted to just dive into the market alone first and kind of feel it out. In, hindsight's 2020. In 2020, it was a lot easier to raise capital. And now we're running into 2024, where every single AI and technology company is getting funded, but then consumers consumer durables are not heavily invested in within VC as well as just in general right now. So it is a little bit tough, but I think everything happens for a reason.
So would you say that entering the space where I almost feel like for a couple years ago, it was like money was everywhere, that you suddenly are like, oh my God, I'm not being, companies like mine are not being invested in. And how have you sort of gotten creative with continuing the brand?
I think that this is the best exercise for us because we're lean and mean. And we have to look at our spreadsheets and our capital and our cash on hand at every single moment and really just make wise decisions. And that's really how it started from the beginning. I had $9,000 from selling my car. And then I had to figure out, okay, how can I engineer a brand new large product with $9,000? So you really, really have to get creative and then just lean on the people that are around you. And thank God for communities such as Female Founder Collective that have really helped and supported in that process. But yeah, you just have to get lean and mean. And then we also have strategic angel investors. And last summer was an incredible experience. I actually got casted for Hello Sunshine's new show called Side Hustlers, which was bringing together female founded companies that could vie for mentorship and investment from Emma Grede of Skim, Safely, Good American, as well as Ashley Graham. And we were chosen by Emma Grede. She mentored us for 8 weeks on camera. And then she ultimately decided to invest in Createaway. So we got $100,000 from Emma Grede, which has been awesome. She's an amazing partner, amazing investor. And then, the show has just been awesome. Everyone can watch it on Roku channel. And it's 5 episodes, 60-minute episodes, docuseries style, where you can follow all of the female founder journeys. And it's really, really awesome. We're all great friends now. Just angel investing all the way.
So what would you say was what set you apart that you got the money?
So we were coming in at a disadvantage. We were pre-market. We were the only pre-market company that was on the show. But I think that, what was amazing about that experience is you have those 8 weeks to really build a rapport and a relationship with that potential investor.
Yeah.
And I am meticulously organized. I am type A all the way. And just, really tried to listen, interpret what her advice was, and really just make something out of her advice. And always listening, always intentionally looking for feedback, but then also constructively giving the output from it. So, she wanted us to change our name. I went to a trade show and interviewed a lot of people, asking them what they thought about the name. They were like, "We love it. We know what your company stands for," at the very beginning. So I went back with that feedback and just kind of tangibly showed her how I think through a lot of different processes and then decision making. So I think I stood apart from some of the companies on there, just being organized and willing to listen.
So let's go back to when I just very lightly was like, yeah, quit your job, get pregnant. But obviously doing those things is, especially when you're starting your company and you've put your hard-won capital into it, is not easy. So I'd love to have you walk me through the emotional part of that decision and the fear and how you kind of got through it and eventually decided to make that jump.
Well, it's funny. So I was listening to one of your past episodes with Emily from Petite Plume. And actually one of my good family friends just started working there as the director of merchandising. So her mom had sent it to me and was like, "Listen to this. You'll find Emily's story." And she said something that really resonated with me, that was, no matter if you're scared or not, it's not going to affect the outcome. And it was I had a cushiony job. I was working really, really hard. Corporate America, the way that I operate is that if I'm working somewhere, I'm going to be the best at it. And I'm going to be eventually the CEO. And so when I was building my own company, but then also working for another company, it was really interesting where I had to kind of take a step back from, I don't want to be the CEO of Amex. I want to be the CEO of Createaway. And to kind of just, still outperform on the American Express side, but within my own company, hit my own goals for myself. But it's really difficult to take that leap. I mean, every single session that that I ever attended for Female Founder Collective, I always ask the person who's presenting, when did you know? When did you know to take that leap? How much money did you have in your bank account? Like, tell me everything. But it really, truly is just a feeling. I was at my absolute breaking point. I was like, I can't do this any longer without taking that leap. I was completely burnt out. I was working East Coast hours on the West Coast. So 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. for American Express. And then after 2 p.m., it was all crate away until like 10 or 11 at night. So I was working extremely hard. And then with the show coming out, I was like, okay, this is my perfect chance where we'll get a lot of traction. And then also, start another fundraising round and really push this forward. And it is truly, it's that gut feeling. It's like, I can't do this any longer. And if I don't make this jump right now, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. It's that moment that just switches for you. And I know like I've talked to the other women in the community and they were like telling me 6 months ago that I should have done it. And I was like, but I'm risk adverse. I really, really, really don't like not having my own salary. And, it was just, it had to resonate within myself before I took that leap.
And did taking that leap involve like talking to your partner, like, I'm going to do this and how does this affect us? And I'd love to hear a little bit about what that was like.
My whole life, every single female in my life has been the breadwinner, has been the, family queen, and has really contributed to the family in a huge way from, their working positions. So it was really, really difficult for me to not feel independent with not taking a salary. And so my husband and I had multiple discussions, and it took a while for me to feel comfortable with that, for him to take on all of our living expenses and to be able to take that step back. And for myself to be like, okay, I'm going to have to rely on my partner. I'm like fiercely independent. So that was really, really difficult for me. But we made lifestyle changes too. We moved from Los Angeles to Florida, where we were, making more money actually moving to Florida because of taxes. It was hard. I love Los Angeles, but Florida's been great. So, you just have to make sacrifices. Yeah. All the time I talk to people who really want to build businesses, but they're not willing to make the sacrifices that you need to. And It's all about, doing things that you're really uncomfortable doing and then getting comfortable.
Right. Or never being comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's more of the norm now, right?
Yeah, very much so. My friend started a cookie company and she's like, when do I start making money? Like when does this feel good? I was like, oh girl, when you get bought, that's when.
Every day I look at that 6 to 8 year plan and I'm like, okay, we're getting one day closer.
So what keeps you fueled knowing it's 6 to 8 years, or even in some cases, people change their minds and they're like, I just want to have a great money-making business for the rest of my life. What sort of is your North Star?
What I've learned in this process is I don't like the word failure. Every single challenge is an opportunity. So, whenever I look at the business and I'm having one of those days where I feel really defeated, I'm like, okay, we can just pivot a little bit. And then it turns out, when people hear what we're doing, when people see what we're doing, they're like, okay, we want to invest. Or do you realize that there's this other acquisition avenue that you haven't thought of yet? It's a gut feeling. Honestly, it's that North Star is just, I know that I'm building something that is a complete hole in the market right now and will help so many pet parents in the future. Also, my other North Star is just helping other female founders. That's what I want to do with my career, is really just to build a kick-ass business, sell it, and then start investing back into female founded companies, because I really do think that that's my future. But then I think that's also the future for the world, is women need to be the leaders. They are the consumers, right? Like when you look at the pet, especially with my audience, 85% of my buying audience is women. Yeah. They're the people that are purchasing in the household, and they are the ones that need to build the businesses so that we can actually get what we want. But I think you just have to have that grit to keep going.
For sure. What has been a shocking lesson you learned that you were not expecting?
I don't want this to sound negative, but I used to believe everything that people would say. And I learned that you have to dissect conversations. Yeah. You have to look at the keywords that they're saying within those conversations, and you'll know whether it's viable or not. And, I've gotten down to the point where I have like a spreadsheet of keywords where I know
what are these keywords?
where the conversation's going. I'll share with you.
Give us one or two keywords that you're like, this is worth listening to, or like, meh, gonna tune you out and think about my to-do list for today.
It's also like within their mannerisms too, right? So it's if I'm having an investment meeting with someone and they say, well, what do you think about your competition? Does it ever scare you that it's an overcrowded market? Our market isn't overcrowded. So whenever they say overcrowded, then I know that they haven't actually looked into the due diligence of like looking at the market. But then also it can be something personality wise too, of asking a lot of if questions. Then I know that they're scared, right? So if they're asking, but what if this, but what if that? Then I know that they're not serious about it. I did a job interview the other day. We're hiring for a chief of technology. And I asked him to start giving me background of himself and how it's applicable to the business. And then he just starts jumping into the business plan for Createaway of like, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. So if they take charge too much, it's a little like abrasive, but it's like what they say, but then how they say it.
I love that you have this, and I'm going to urge you to publish this because I think that people, women especially, like get so emotional or feel so hurt by certain things. But if you can step away and be like, oh, they're scared or they're not serious or whatever, it takes away that like, I'm a failure. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
You know, I had an experience 2 weeks ago where a couple people said something and I was like, so just like, whoa, I haven't had that experience for a while. And I was like, oh, wait, this is for TV and it's not real. And once I had that, I wasn't hurt. You know, I was like, oh, this is the game. Say the shocking thing, get the reaction, ask me about it later. Okay, I can play this game. So I feel those list of keywords you should sell as a little one sheet. The keywords you need to know, $20, $20 a pop.
Yeah. Well, seriously, I've been, I created this website. It's called The Purse. Well, our Instagram handle is Purse for the People. And I've been thinking about publishing like all my little nicks and tricks and secrets. And then all the money that we would receive for that, we invest back into female founded businesses.
Oh, I love that.
When people buy like an Hermes bag or something like that, I look at that bag and I'm like, do you realize how many lives you could change with that $30,000 bag? Like, let's invest it back into the community. Come on. Like, you don't need to be carrying that around.
Yes. I often admire those $30,000 bags, not because I want one, because I don't, but I'm just like, wow, that was a lot of money. And you're carrying it unlocked. Like,
yeah. But going back to what you were saying about, you know, feeling hurt by certain words or conversations, when someone tries to get an arousal out of you, out of conversation, especially in these investment meetings, something that I always do is just take a breath. And I think about like, what was the intention behind that? Or, you know, what was the point of that? And then I always say like the emotion that comes straight to me. I'm like, ouch. Like, because then it directly goes back to the person. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize that my words could do that. Or I didn't realize that my words were doing that. Or, you know, if they are trying to get a rise and you've already spotted that from the beginning, then you just don't even give them any reaction. You just take a breath and say,
they don't get the satisfaction.
I'm confident. Yeah, exactly. Just say, I'm confident in my answer.
Totally. So where do you see the future of Createaway going?
Yeah. So we're selling our baseline crate right now. So you can go online and pre-order our standard size crate. So it is 36 inches long, 23 inches in width and 25 inches high. And so you can purchase that, as well as our carrying bag is out there for purchase. And then we're actually building behind the scenes the first ever smart pet crate. So pets spend about 33 to 50% of their lifetime within their pet crate. And what we are noticing is that we're not gathering any pet health metrics during those critical times where you can see sleeping patterns, you can see weight fluctuations. You can also see
like an Aura ring, but for your pet.
Yeah, exactly. Building that ecosystem within the crate. Exactly.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah. So we need a lot of money to do that. So we're looking for some strategic partners for that as well.
Wow. And so knowing that you are going to be out of commission for a couple weeks, I'm going to say weeks, because I know you as an entrepreneur. I can't imagine you're just going to go dark for 3 months.
Yeah, no, not possible.
How are you approaching running the business and you have a due date? And how are you managing that?
You know, I was so scared. I found out I was pregnant at 8 weeks. So I was already 2 months into it. Again, it was 2 days after I resigned from my corporate job, where they have a very nice maternity leave plan. So that was a scary moment. But I've already gotten so much better at prioritizing my time. The amount of calls that I just say no to anymore because I realize they're not serious or, whatever the reasoning might be, but just prioritizing and having everything moving. By the time that this child is born, we will be already out in the market. So everything will be kind of functioning in a well-oiled machine. Hopefully that's the goal. But seriously, I probably won't. I'll probably take like 2 weeks where I won't be focused on Create Away. But then after that kid is going to be slung on me and we're just going to see what happens. Yeah, exactly. Love I mean, I think our first conversation together, you were pumping as we were talking. So, you got to do what you got to do.
Yes, ma'am. My first came with me to all my meetings for the first couple of weeks because I was in charge of design and there was no stopping that. So I always end my podcast with 2 questions. What is a piece of advice you've either learned or someone gave to you that you feel like was helpful? And what would we be surprised to know about you?
So the earlier sentiment from Emily from Petite Plume that no matter if you're scared or not, it's not going to impact the outcome. Mm-hmm. But then also in conjunction with that, your network is your net worth. So it is so important to put yourself out there. It's so important to talk to people and to really just bridge a conversation and learn something new about someone. And then, who knows what can happen from that relationship? Like this, when I first had spoken to you, like it was not my intention to, I want to get on Rebecca's podcast. No, it was just, I wanted to learn from you and I wanted to listen to your stories. And, we just had an amazing connection. But I think that it's so, so critical for people starting out, especially solo founders. You really need to put yourself out there. And then for something that people don't know about me, I love sewing. I really wanted to be a fashion designer when I grew up. And I feel like I need to get back into a little bit of that creative side of myself now that, corporate Kristyn is dead. So I'm trying to do like a little bit of creative work so that I can take my mind off of the startup stuff, at least for like 1 hour an evening. Yeah. But yeah, I love, love, love sewing.
Oh my God. Well, you can make a lot of baby clothes.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, honestly, like altering my clothes right now for pregnancy has been interesting.
Yeah. Well, if you know how to alter your jeans with that elastic waistband, then you will save yourself thousands of dollars.
Yeah, seriously.
So where can everyone find Create Away?
Yeah. So we're on Instagram at Create Away Co. So Create Away and then CO. And then on TikTok, we're just at Create Away. And then you can find us online at www.createawayco.com.
Okay. And how long between the pre-order and arrival?
Yeah. So we're shipping at the end of summer.
Wow.
So we'll be live in a few months. You'll be able to touch your pet crate, take it home in a few months.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on today. I'm excited for what you're building and I'm inspired by your bravery and everything you're pursuing.
Thank you. And thank you for being an ear that I can talk to and shoulder that I can lean on throughout this process because it has not been easy.
I know it never is. I had to tell everyone that. I'm like, it's never going to be easy. There's going to be like these glimmers where you're just like, whoa, that's great. It's like an orgasm, it's like great. And then it's work and then it's great. And then it's work. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you guys for listening to today's episode. I also want to ask you to rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts. I know it's a pain in the butt, but it actually helps with search and algorithms. So if you love this podcast, it is an easy way to get it more visible and out there. I also want you to follow me on Instagram at Rebecca Minkoff, at RM Superwomen, and be sure to check out my book, Fearless, The New Rules for Unlocking Creativity, Courage, and Success. Thank you again, and you will hear from me next week.